The Steelers have a next man up problem. And there's so much wrong with this system they've integrated because it's kept the Steelers from, I feel like, being truly successful. Now, let me break down some of the next man up, things they've shown. So, when the Steelers needed a new offensive coordinator, I forgot who our offensive coordinator was before Randy Finkner, short-term memory, but I think. But when we fired him, the goal was to just, let's bring in the quarterbacks coach, which obviously at that point made sense. And, at that point, it wasn't like we fired coaches often. So it was like, we bring the next guy in. Let's see how he plays, bada boom. Randy Finkner will go down as possibly the worst Steelers offensive coordinator of all time. And it's that simple. And now that we've fired Randy Finkner, we've promoted, who do we promote? Matt Canada. Matt Canada's now the offensive coordinator, and I'm kind of curious about that because I'm like, why not go out and find an offensive coordinator who's the best for the job? Why just hire someone that's already on the? You know what I'm saying? They're not an offensive coordinator for a reason. So it makes me think, why are we even attempting that? Does anyone know Matt Canada's career before he got to the Steelers? Matt Canada was the offensive coordinator for LSU, where LSU was a basic team. They didn't have a great offense. And then he got fired from LSU, and I think this was in 2017. And you guys know what 2018 LSU did, or was that 2019? It was 2019. He got fired in 2018, and then the next year LSU would go on to have the greatest offense college football has ever seen. I'm talking multiple top first round picks, talent out of this world. And what makes me think about that is the fact that, I feel like Matt Canada really won't be the answer. I think the offense can be better because I don't think it can get worse than what Randy Finkner was doing in the system he had. But I think bringing in Matt Canada wasn't the right, choice. We were looking at Pep Hamilton. We were looking at some other offensive coordinators who I felt like were way more qualified, who I felt like who could have brought a new, feel to this offense. And I feel like we needed to hire outside of the organization. And then that brings me to our next man up situation. We fire our offensive line coach, who, by the way, was terrible, who was awful. And then we hire his assistant. What type of sense does that actually make? It makes none at all. The Steelers have a next man up problem. This problem will cause the Steelers to win no championships. It'll keep holding the Steelers back as long as they do it. We've got to figure out a way to bring in talent. We've got to start reaching free agency. Like I said last week, the Steelers got to be more desperate to win. And this whole next man up system that they have, it's flawed, it's broken, it doesn't work. Now, I'm gonna sit back and give these guys a chance. I'm not gonna knock them before. I don't think they were the right hiring choice. When we look at everything we could have possibly done, I don't think they were the best. I don't think we hired the best people. But obviously, I'm gonna give them a chance to see what they do. I mean, this team's gonna look a lot different next season. I don't think this team really is gonna be as good as we're expecting it to be. At all, to be honest. I mean, we're losing some key defensive pieces. We're could be losing some key offensive pieces. So it's really just going to be interesting to see how the Steelers use this next man up system on the players, because at the current moment, the next man up situation is the draft, and the draft is really going to point to where I feel like the Steelers will aim to make the team better. But when we regard these coaches, I don't think hiring Matt Canada was the best situation. I don't think hiring Adrian Clem as the new offensive line coach was the right situation. I'm like, if the offensive coordinator can't get this thing straight, what makes you think his assistant will? And I know the argument a lot of fans were using, well, obviously he may have a different system. He may not have used his antics or kept his antics. I'm like, but if he was on this team, don't you think he would have been able to make the offensive line a little bit better, him being the assistant? It's like, he's not just there, he's obviously working with the players as well, and that didn't work. So why would that be a good idea to hire the assistant of the coach you just fired? That makes no sense at all. It makes none at all. And when it comes to Matt Canada, like I said, I don't think he can be any worse than Randy Finkner, but at the same time, I don't think we're improving at all. I think let me not say that. I think we're improving a bit, but I don't think we're going to be as great as we can be. And that kind of gets me to the end of this topic. Is this Steelers situation, this Steelers next man up system? It's really flawed. It's worked on the players a bit. Robert Spillane, Cam Sutton. It's worked on the players just slightly. It hasn't worked with the running backs at all, because our running backs are terrible. James Conner starts playing bad. They go, okay, well, let's put Benny Snell in. Benny Snell plays terrible. Well, let's put McFarland in. McFarland will have a 2 or 3 decent runs, and then he'll start playing terrible. And it's like, well, we got to put James Conner back in. It's this next man up situation. It's a never-ending way to fail. It's just gonna cause constant failure. And until Mike Tomlin and Colbert and Art Rooney II realize that, man, this team won't get better, man. You gotta hire outside of the organization to make this team better than they are playing right now. Because right now, this next man up system, it's not going to benefit the team. They're like I said last week, they're continuing to dig this team into a hole by doing this next man up system. This whole not being desperate, not going out and getting what you need, being aggressive. And this whole next man up, it's soft. It's very soft, and it's going to keep the Steelers from being true contenders. And I can tell you, I can give you examples of many teams who are aggressive and who have got their teams on track. And you want to know one of those teams? One of those teams just happened to be in our conference, and that team is the Cleveland Browns. And like I said in one of my other videos, the Cleveland Browns right now are a top 3 team in the AFC. And 3-4 years ago, this team was absolutely trash. But they were aggressive. They were, desperate. And they made the moves they needed to. They don't do that little stupid next man up situation. They go out and grab stuff and grab people in free agency. They signed how many top stars on their offensive line? They traded up to draft how many players? It's about being desperate. It's about wanting it. It's about getting it. And I feel like until the Steelers learn that, this Steelers team will continue to dig a hole deeper and deeper and deeper until we become the next Cleveland Browns and we become a losing franchise for years on years, until we can finally get this team back on track. This next man up system is broken. The Steelers need to fix it.